Hey everyone, and welcome back to Towergate, day 212, part 2. The French have surrendered again. Despite the massive unpopularity of Emmanuel Macron and the French Parliament, they have now delivered big time for the New World Order. They have surrendered. The French Parliament has voted to adopt an anti-terror bill that will end the 2-year state of emergency by making most of the powers the permanent laws of the land. The vote was 415 to 127. So basically, about 2 years ago, after all these terrorist attacks, as a result of the EU immigration policy allowing all those migrants, many of whom are radical Islamic jihadists, into their country to launch all sorts of attacks, have riots, and I believe we've all seen the streets of downtown Paris and what that looks like and all that they've been through. So 2 years ago they decided that they'll be in a state of emergency. Well, now they have voted to basically continue that state of emergency as now the permanent law of the land. This would include the following: warrantless police searches and house arrest will now be common practice. Let me say that again. Warrantless police searches and house arrests will now be common practice. Protest marches will be banned. Shutting down places of worship that share extremist views. Who do you think that's going to be? You think it will be the Islamic folks there in their mosques? No. It will be the Christians and their extremist views who will be shut down. Of course, there will be electronic tagging for surveillance without a warrant. That's right. That's what they signed up for. Permanent military presence in cities and towns. Military police state as well. Fantastic. Now, this comes as a result of the fact that there were about 240 people in the last prior, 3 or 4 years, going all the way back to Charlie Hebdo. There's been about 240 people. I guess this includes the 82 people in Nice, of course, who were killed when the guy took off into a crowd driving a delivery truck at a high rate of speed. Forget how many was injured in there, but there were 82 people killed. So anyway, what you can see is that the New World Order has succeeded. They created the situation that turned the entire country into a hellish nightmare, and then when the people finally got sick of it, they begged, please, anything, we'll do anything if you'll just stop this. Well, now what they should have done was built a border security perimeter around their country, put their military there, put their surveillance there, and stop the radical Islamic fundamentalists from infiltrating their country, and then throw the ones that are there out. That's what they should do. But instead, they're now going to be a complete police state, and now they go clearly into the category of the New World Order. And that's what they're going to do to the rest of Europe. Send people into a state of rage and panic and fear, and then come along with the solution to the problem. And the solution is you surrender your freedom, your country, all of your rights, all of your liberties, gone completely, so that the government can make you safe. Now, of course, as we all know, this will not stop anything. The violence will continue in France and all throughout Europe, and when they get done there, they're coming here. What do you think's going on out there? Many violent extremists attacks until eventually people just have so much that they can't take anymore, and they beg for relief. And along comes your government with a solution to your problem. Problem, reaction, solution. The New World Order, they're coming for you. And this is how they're going to do it. What happened in Las Vegas? What do you think? Same thing that's happening all around the world and has been happening in Orlando and New England and California and all around the country, all around the world. It's the New World Order. Welcome to it. Never ever surrender your freedoms on the promise, the false hope of security. Because the very demons that are telling you that they're going to keep you safe are the very demons who are behind it. John Kennedy once said, things don't just happen. They are made to happen. Pay very close attention. That's why we do these videos. That's why we cover these stories. That's why we ask a lot of questions. The Interior Minister, Gerard Gollum, said the legislation is necessary to deal with the threat of jihadis, and described France as in a state of war. The new bill clamps down on the ability of ordinary people to worship, assemble, move freely, express themselves, and enjoy their privacy. 57% support it. His solution to dealing with the threat of jihadis and being in a state of war is to steal all the people's freedoms and turn the whole country into a police state, while they'll continue to allow hundreds of thousands of radical jihadis to pour into the country. That is the New World Order right there. Well, the rotten Reverend Clinton cannot go away. Well, I was thinking, like many of you I'm sure, that after the election we would finally be rid of her. She would just go away. But it's obvious she's not going away. Everyone wants her to go away. I want her to go away. You want her to go away. The Democrats want her to go away. The progressives want her to go away. The corporate money donors, they definitely want her to go away. She's a buzzkill. She's a real buzzkill, and she's also killing donations. She's angering a lot of people with her book. And she can't help but come out and politicize this event in Las Vegas when it's her and her pathologically, psychologically demented friends, evil friends who are behind most of these plots that she's currently funding. And yet she won't go away. She just has to be out there. It's almost like she has to come out every day, and it's almost like she thinks she won or somehow came in honorable mention, and therefore she's allowed to go out every day and pretend she's the president or something. I mean, she's psycho. She's lost her mind. But the fact of the matter is she's still out there politicizing things, still talking about those silencers. You know, what we need is a silencer that can be inserted directly into the rotten reverend's face to shut her up. That's what we really need. That's the silencer that we should be looking for, the one to silence her. Let's not forget that the rotten reverend and her family have taxpayer-paid Secret Service protection, and they're all carrying guns. Lots of guns, big guns, AR-15s even. That's right, the rotten reverend is protected by guns, lots of them, and we're paying for it. And she has the utter gall to come out here and tell us that we shouldn't have personal protection. You see, this is because she is an elitist snob on top of everything else, a criminal and everything else. And she believes that the little people are expendable. Not her, though. People in her class, no, they have to be protected. But we're all expendable. If you lose a peasant, fuck it. It's just a peasant. Wipe him off the board. You sacrifice him to rooks and bishops all the time. Happens every night around the chessboard. Or around the chessboard of the New World Order, where Hillary plays. And her friends. So anyway, we can't get rid of the rotten reverend. Now, I can think of one way to shut the reverend up. But if our Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, doesn't appear to have any interest whatsoever, according to Jason Chaffetz, even though we know the entire alleged investigation into her illegal emails, her illegal handling of classified information, violations of the Espionage Act, and many other crimes, despite the fact that that was an entire fiasco, and we now know that because we have James Comey's notes telling us he decided long ago, before he ever did any interviews, that Hillary was going to get off the hook. There was never going to be any prosecution of the rotten reverend, thanks to James Comey and the corrupt Justice Department. and it appears that it's still going on. They're going to let the rotten reverend slide. They should drop those charges on her. That would shut her up. That would keep her quite busy, keep her off the main stage, because she wouldn't want to do interviews anymore or talk anymore because of all the questions that they would be asking her about the crimes that she committed. That's why Jeff Sessions needs to press charges immediately. We know she committed the crimes. We know the investigation never actually happened. We need to shut up the rotten reverend. Well, we got this guy, this Republican Tim Murphy. This guy is your classic swamp monster. If this guy's not on your list, Maura, Tim Murphy, T-I-M-M-U-R-P-H-Y, Tim Murphy. Okay, this guy is your classic. He's a pro-life, hardcore Christian right-winger congressman from Pennsylvania, from the Bible Belt. Well, it appears that he's caught up in a little scandal. Seems he had a mistress. Yes, this wonderful Christian man, this wonderful politician, this wonderful Republican, pro-life, hardcore, loves Jesus, loves babies, loves the whole thing, really loves that mistress, loved her so much that he got her pregnant. And then an email surfaced afterwards where he's telling her in the email that she should get an abortion. So, therefore, he becomes the 7th swamp monster that we've now defeated, and we haven't even voted yet. That's 7 now that are not going to run for re-election. Good. We've eliminated 7, haven't even voted yet. Hell, by the time next November comes around, maybe we can be rid of half of these people. Maybe we'll have 50% of these guys gone by next November before we even cast a single vote. They'll quit, or be forced to quit, like this numbnuts. What a scumbag. What a scumbag. Well, the deep state cover-up has already started with the Las Vegas shooting. You can always tell when it begins because you begin to get these little blips from the media non-sourced where they begin to direct the narrative. They begin to steer the vehicle where they want it to go and make sure it doesn't go off into the ditch where they don't want it to go. And you can tell because you start getting these little drips of non-sourced stuff from the corporate media. Such as the following. On ABC News, ABC News is now reporting that Paddock's mental state was deteriorating before the shooting. He had significant weight loss, but had become slovenly in appearance, and he had an obsession with his girlfriend's ex-husband. This is classic CIA propaganda. This is classic, fed right up the pipeline, right from the CIA. This is coming right from Langley, directly through the pipeline, right into ABC News, right into his ear. Okay. So we're going to report that Paddock's mental state was deteriorating before the shooting. Of course, he had significant weight loss. I'm writing this down now. Slovenly appearance. And he had an obsession with what? Oh, obsession with his girlfriend's ex-husband. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. The fans are going the viewers are going to love that. Yes, we'll get that right out. Thank you very much. You'll have a nice day. Thank you. This is basically what we have going on right here. This means that they are already starting to steer the narrative and create the cover-up. So there we go. That's the first of what will be many little blips like this. There are these things, and who's attributed to it? ABC News. Do they say that they have a source in Washington? Do they say they have a government source, an intelligence source, an FBI source, a police source, a this source, a that source? No source. ABC News is the source. We'll hear many more of these things coming out of the corporate media as the CIA begins to pipeline the propaganda into the system to try to direct the narrative and keep you so fucking confused you don't know which way is up or down while the real train leaves the station. We'll keep watching the real train. Okay, Lindsey Candy Pants Graham. Well, I just knew this was coming. Looks like he's sided with the Democrats on gun control. That shouldn't surprise us. We know he doesn't want a wall. He doesn't want a wall for security, but he sure wants that. And again, he's jumping also on this idea of the silencer, which we talked about. The silencer. It's not a silencer. It's a suppressor and blah, blah, blah. No one ever uses one on a long-range rifle. You couldn't use one on a fully automatic weapon. We've been through all this. You think that Candy Pants Graham would know this because he was in the military. Of course, he was an AG lawyer in the military. I don't think he ever came out in BDUs. Don't think he ever fired a weapon. Maybe in basic training or something. But I believe he went to work every day in Class A's. No camis for Candy Pants. No running around out in the woods like a crazy man in the freezing cold. In the heat, I remember it well. Very, very cold. Very, very hot. 3-4 weeks at a time. 20, 23 days. 17 below zero, taking a bath in your frozen water in your steel pot, brushing your teeth and shaving in ice cold water and freezing temperatures, soaping your body down, running around out in the fucking woods like a crazy man in the freezing cold, looking for destroyed communication wire, which was destroyed by a tank because we didn't bury the shit deep enough, throwing wire through trees at 3 o'clock in the morning with a 16-mile-an-hour wind at 24 below zero. Not Lindsey Candy Pants Graham. I don't believe he experienced that. I don't believe he had that experience. He was doing a lot of lawyering in the Air Force. Let's see. We have Senate Intel Committee has now stated in a conference that they did today, Richard Burr, the Republican, Mark Warner, the Democrat, in a press conference to the media from the Senate Intel Committee. They say they've hit a wall on the dossier. They say that Steele refuses to meet with the committee. They say that they have 20 or so more witnesses scheduled, and at this point they haven't decided if the dossier is even credible. They haven't decided if the dossier is... They're still trying to figure out if the dossier is credible. Well, we just recently learned that Julian Assange said that no one, including the Senate Intelligence Committee, has attempted to contact him to get the information he's got that proves the truth. They're not looking for the truth here, folks. It's not what they're looking for. No, 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 no. No, this is not a truth expedition. This is something else. It's a dog and pony show. It is political theater. And we are the audience. Mr. Burr and Mr. Warner are running a fucking game on us. That's what's happening right here. That's exactly what's happening here. Of course, we have really, really interesting news now breaking regarding the civil lawsuit with Christopher Steele and BuzzFeed and GPS and all the rest. As you know, BuzzFeed is being sued by Mr. Gubarev as well as Christopher Steele. Now we have Russian Alpha Bank as well as Carter Page suing BuzzFeed as well. Now, it turns out that we have two interesting pieces of news. It turns out now that, again, we have now gotten the second statement from Fusion GPS, this one concerning the civil lawsuit, where they're now saying that they will disclose their communications with BuzzFeed editor Ben Smith. As you know, the name of the game here in the civil suit is that Mr. Gubarev was slandered. There's no doubt that he was slandered. That's a 100% slam dunk fact proof. They're not in court to find out if he was slandered. He was slandered. What they're trying to find out is who's going to pay Mr. Gubarev. Will it be BuzzFeed? Will it be Christopher Steele? Or GPS Fusion? His lawsuit is against Steele and BuzzFeed, but we now have the second statement coming from, I assume, the attorneys from GPS, saying they will disclose communications with BuzzFeed editor Ben Smith. They alleged previously, when he came in to speak to Congress, it leaked out that although that he wouldn't answer that question, or they wouldn't even ask that question, because for some reason Fusion GPS is being treated with kid gloves in the Congress. The intelligence agencies, no one seems to be very interested. Not the FBI, CIA. Why aren't they so interested in Fusion GPS? Because it looks to me almost like the FBI or the CIA or both were using GPS as their go-between to orchestrate this facade. That's what it looks like to me, but I could be crazy. But it sure looks like that to me. But anyway, this is the second time that Fusion GPS has signaled that they might be going to drop the dime on themselves. Yeah, we're the ones that gave it to BuzzFeed. Fusion GPS, just as many suspected. Fusion GPS, that would be our good friend Glenn Simpson. Glenn Simpson and his other friend GPS may very well have been the ones that gave it to BuzzFeed, which means that Fusion GPS and BuzzFeed will likely be paying Mr. Gubarev. Fusion GPS and, of course, Glenn Simpson are going to say they stand by the dossier. And they stand by the statement that they made. Mr. Gubarev, they're going to basically say, well, Mr. Gubarev's lying. He did exactly what we said he did in the dossier. That's what they're going to do. That's going to be the legal defense for Fusion GPS. They're going to throw it into the prove it or disprove it. Well, it can't be probably proven or disproven. Oh, what games they play in the legal world. Yes, the deep state. The deep state. Tit in the ringer. Bummer. But we also learned today that Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS has known Rinat Akhmetshin for over 10 years. And who is Rinat Akhmetshin? Well, he is the Russian that happened to be in the meeting with Veselnitskaya at Trump Tower on June 9th, 2016 with Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner, and Trump Jr. That's right. Glenn Simpson. So that means that Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS directly connected to Veselnitskaya and Mr. Akhmetshin. And of course, we have high suspicions, many reports from Circa News, from Gateway Pundit, from True Pundit, from various other sources, Zero Hedge, many others, that it was this meeting that was used to get the warrant on Carter Page or Manafort or one of the other guys. So here we have this meeting that was set up. Both the star characters, Mr. Akhmetshin and Veselnitskaya, close associates of Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson, who of course are the same ones who leaked to BuzzFeed, most likely, the same ones that did their dealings with Christopher Steele to produce it all. I find it very difficult to believe that the FBI, the CIA wouldn't know about this kind of thing happening under their noses. My guess is that they were involved in it. So there you go. There you go. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. Towergate, Day 212, Part 2. I'll see you all on Friday. Take care.